In the previous video, we went over how to solve rational equations. We cross multiply, and then we set it equal to 0, right, by moving the constant to the other side of the equal sign, and we factor. Then we can use the zero product property to solve for our s, right? So that's how we're solving these, and let's go ahead and go through some examples here. This one here will cross multiply, applying the means extremes property. And so when we do that, it's going to be negative 2 times 6. So that's going to become negative 12. And then we're going to multiply the 3x times the sum of 4 and x. So it's going to be 3x times parentheses 4 plus x. Now we're going to distribute the left side. So we get negative 12 is equal to 12x plus 3x squared. I'm going to add the 12 to get the equation equal to 0, and I'll get 0 is equal to 12x plus 3x squared plus 12. I want to write the right side in standard form, meaning the variable with the highest exponent to the left. So I want to say 12 is equal to 3x squared plus 12x plus 12. Right? So now we're ready to go, ready to factor. But before we do, let's go ahead and factor out the greatest common factor between 3, 12, and 12, which is going to be 3. So let's do that over here. So 0 is equal to, pull out the 3, and I'll get x squared plus 12x plus 4x plus 4 parentheses. Okay, so now we want to factor this center portion, right? This factor here, the x squared plus 4x plus 4. So how do we do that? Well, we're going to make an x, and we'll put a times c, which is 1 times 4, up at the top, and we'll put a 4 at the bottom. So we'll start with what needs to multiply to 4, add to 4. So 1 times 4 does not add to 4. 2 times 2 does multiply to 4 and add to 4. So it's going to be 2 and 2. Okay. So let's rewrite our quadratic expression as its factors. So it's going to be 0 is equal to 3 parentheses x plus 2 times x plus 2, like so. Okay. So now what do? We want to use the zero product property to set our factors equal to 0. So here's one factor, here's another factor, here's another factor. If you set 3 equal to 0, that doesn't make sense. So we can just forget about that constant, right? Not even consider it. Now we're going to set this factor equal to 0. So it's x plus 2 is equal to 0. We could also set this factor here equal to 0, but it's the same as the first factor. So we don't need to. They're going to result in the same answer. So we'll subtract 2 from both sides, and we'll get x is equal to negative 2. Right, that's our answer here. So let's put x is equal to negative 2. All right, let's try another one. So again, we're going to apply the means extremes property and multiply diagonally. So one side we'll get x times the sum of x and 2, and the other side we'll get 15 times 17. Let's see. What's 15 times 17? 15 times 17 is 255. Okay, so I'm going to distribute on the left side of the equal sign. So I get x squared plus 2x is equal to 255. Ooh, this is going to be a tough one. So I'm going to subtract 255 from both sides. And I get x squared plus 2x minus 255 is equal to 0. All right, so two numbers that multiply to 255 but add to 2. So let's go ahead and put the x over here out of the way. And so a times c is going to be 1 times negative 255. So it's negative 255. And then b at the bottom, a 2. And so, we could start with 1. 1 times 255 is, 3 times, and see if 3 is a factor, 5 times, right? And just work through the factors of 255. But what you'll notice is right here, they already give it to us, right? 17 times 15 multiplied to 255 adds to, negative 255, and they add to 2. So let's do that. We'll do 17 and 15. But one of them needs to be negative because they multiply to a negative value, add to a positive value, so the 15 is going to be negative. Right. So we kind of shortcutted our way to the factors. So now we have our factors. We can go ahead and write this left side of the equal sign and replace it with its factors. So we're going to get x plus 17, and then x minus 15 is equal to 0. All right, so we're going to set both of these factors equal to 0 and solve for x. So x plus 17 is equal to 0, and x minus 15 is equal to 0. Subtract 17 from both sides here, and we get x is equal to negative 17. We'll add 15 to both sides there, and we'll get x is equal to positive 15. Right? So those are our two answers. X is equal to negative 17 and positive 15.